Hi, this is Ray Poynter, the festival organizer from NewMR, and I'm going to be talking to Brian Singh, Managing Director of Zinc Research. Hi, Brian.
Greetings, Ray.
And first things first, I'd like to thank you for being the sponsor of the NewMR's Listening is the New Asking event.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And we're going to start off a little bit nerdy with going into some details, and then we'll open it out a little bit. So first of all, tell us 3 things that we ought to know about Zinc Research.
Well, Ray, Zinc Research started in 2006, and we started with a specialization in on-site research. We started in this area as we did feel that there was a missing, component within the market. A lot of people in our business do tend to get specialized in doing online surveys, telephone surveys, as well as doing focus groups. And we started in 2006 with the premise that on-site research had to be better. So that's one thing. The second thing is that we are truly a virtual corporation. We operate within the cloud, and we always have been for the last 5 years. So beyond the advice we present to our clients about having to become more active online, and especially within social media, we actually practice what we preach. The last thing is that we have evolved a lot of methods, primarily using hybrid methodologies by incorporating social media into our research, but because I come from an economics background, we have now started to incorporate a lot of disciplines from across the social sciences field, but also the hard sciences field. And this has now evolved into a strategic consultancy. So those, I would say, are the 3 core things about Zinc Research.
Great. I'm just going to probe out a little bit more. First of all, where is Zinc Research? Where are you based?
Well, if we had to pick a physical location, Ray, we are based in Calgary, Alberta. So in the beautiful province of Alberta in Western Canada, at the foothills of the Rockies. Glorious views of the Rockies, I can guarantee that.
And what do people associate with Calgary?
Well, top of mind, you're now putting me in tourism researcher mode here, Ray. I could spout off the typical things. First off, people associate the Calgary Stampede, which we do work for, by the way, and I'm quite proud to say that the program that we do deliver on them is actually an on-site program, but it does incorporate a lot of online methodologies with it, and it is recognized to be on par with some of the programs that are undertaken by Disney. Sorry about that, elaborating on that, but being a researcher, we sometimes are give too much detail. But I'd say that in terms of yes, I know we can't shut up sometimes, could we? But in terms of some of the other things that beyond the Stampede, we are in oil country, so it is a headquarters town for a lot of the oil and gas sector, and there's a lot of ties to the international community as a result. We are the gateway to the Canadian Rockies, so we're not far from Banff. And I'd also like to say, and this is something I know that you saw me present on, Ray, is that we are home of the first Muslim mayor in North America.
Absolutely. I was going to come back to that later, but I think we'll just do a little bit on that now, because you were very involved in that campaign, Brian, weren't you?
Absolutely. I drank the Kool-Aid of politics, and I think you being a councillor in your town, I think you relate to that.
And if people want to read more about how you were able to leverage research and social media in the campaign that successfully elected your candidate, where would they go to find out about that?
We do have some videos and presentations at the Zinc Research website. So if they just look under research resources, there are a couple presentations I have in there, a couple SlideShare, as well as couple SlideShare presentation decks, as well as videos that we have loaded in Vimeo, and we also have I think a podcast in there. But the presentations pretty much outline how we use research, social media, as well as how that informed our strategy to help Mayor Naheed Nenshi achieve the goal of becoming mayor in Calgary. I think it makes for a really good story, and I think it also demonstrates how we as researchers could contribute to making a difference. And to be quite honest, working within a real-time experiment with a definite day endpoint, that being election day, demonstrating that research can be done real-time and connected to other data sources to actually deliver positive results.
Yeah, one of the things I love about politics as a place for market research is you get proved right or wrong so much faster and absolutely definitely.
I think you could actually get some of your points proven within minutes if you had to, especially with Twitter.
That's true enough. That's true enough. So if anybody wants to find out about those stories, probably you could search Zinc Research with Google, but actually you could just click on Brian's logo on the NewMR website, and that'll take you through and go through to the research resources. So a little bit about Brian and Brian Singh, the man. So I don't know if you want to tell us about any of your passions to start with before we talk about a little bit of history and how that might impact on research. So name me a couple of passions.
Well, one that was quite apparent, and I think that you got to indulge in one of them when we were last together in Toronto, is food. I am a bit of a foodie. I do cook quite a bit, but I do experiment in a lot of cuisines and fairly high-end cuisine, but also lowbrow cuisine. But I think there's also something that few people do not know is that I was working on my sommelier qualification, and because I do believe that there's so many great wines out there and great varietals that the more that we are informed about them, the better we could actually have better food experiences. I'm also going to add one thing about the sommelier training to Ray, is that I do believe it has contributed to helping me be a better researcher, oddly enough. Let me explain.
Yeah, this a British politician years ago said that all politicians need a good hinterland. You can't just be a politician. You have to have other aspects to your life that you bring through to it. And I'm sure that's even more true for market research. You have to have a substantial hinterland, other interests, other backgrounds.
I think, you know, with the sommelier thing, it teaches you a lot more about your senses. Wine is, in many respects, a sensory experience. You know, there's a smell, there's a taste, there's a visual appeal, there's the bottle it's in. So it teaches you to fine-tune your senses. And I think that in today's world, with the amount of data we have available to us, and especially great attention to ethnography, we need to have our senses fine-tuned to the environment that we're going to be working in. So I see very little difference between some of my interests and what I do for a living. The other passion, one of my other passions is travel. I see travel as an incredible education in keeping your eyes, ears, and senses open, to be quite blunt. And the way that I love to travel is I'm not necessarily going to hit up all the big tourist attractions. One of the things I love to do is we rent an apartment outside the tourist areas, and we get to know one neighborhood really well and try to problem solve how will we find things to do like laundry or go and do groceries and the day-to-day things that really inform who we are as a person within that particular environment.
Understanding the lived experience, as I think it's termed in ethnography. Brian, both you and I used to work for large organizations at some point in the past, and now we're in small to microscopic, in my case, organizations. Is that by choice in your case?
Absolutely. I think that I think this is something, I'm not too sure if you relate to it, but this is something that's been dear to me. I have a lot of ideas, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who start their own company that they want to explore their own ideas. But we're now in a different environment. Here we are chatting. You're in Australia, I'm here in Canada, and we're able to connect. But we're also able to share our voice, and we're able to amplify our voice. And I'm not saying that we're always right or wrong in what we do, but we have the ability to connect with other people. And I think that that is one of the benefits that that I do feel I'm able to explore through being a smaller, working for a small organization, or in my case, running the small organization. And we're able to be a lot more flexible with our methodologies, as well as being able to customize things to our clients' needs. And some of the larger companies, they're great companies, but sometimes they're more interested in the bottom line, covering the overhead, because they do have that many more staff, and that they do become somewhat more beholden to their methodologies because they most probably have money tied up in them. And I like to be more flexible in my approach because, and I think the market is demanding it now. Boutique companies are evolving to be able to do things in more creative ways. And I think that that's what I was hoping to explore by moving from a large organization off on our own and growing our business accordingly. And to be quite honest, staying at a particular size so that we're able to be nimble and flexible to meet to address our client needs.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people misunderstand the benefits and the disadvantages of large companies. They are great at what they do, but one of the things I found when I was there is you had to be nice to everybody because everybody was going to be one of your clients. I was working with Millward Brown. The vast majority of blue chips work with Millward Brown. So you couldn't afford for anybody to dislike your company. But when you're my size, your size, it doesn't matter how many people dislike you. What you need is some people to love you. And that allows you to be more distinctive, I think.
I also, and I think that this is all, you're running a festival like this, or more like an online conference to be a little bit more precise. But do you think you could have done this when you are working with a large company?
Way too risky, I would think. I mean, I look at some of the big companies and there are some fantastic people. One thinks there's people like Mike Cook at GFK, but there's a limit to how far they can go, both in terms of being edgy, but also, you remember the days when you used to have to review people had to review you, you did 360-degree reviews. Very good things. I'm glad that people in large organizations are doing them, but I'm not going to.
I think that there are people like us, and I'm glad that you're able to highlight them at the NewMR Virtual Festival, especially on text analytics, which I do believe is part of the future where we're going in terms of being able to analyze online content. But we have the ability to be a little bit more nimble around these ideas, and what if people, damned if let me phrase that correctly, that we are able to be that much more daring about some of the things that we're willing to pursue. And if they fall flat, well, that's not a bad thing, because it's the idea that's more important at this point. And I still love that. And I love the fact that we can keep pushing ourselves because part of what this business is about mitigating risk. And I think in our own behavior and some of the research that we did together, Ray, is that we realized that this, as much as a great discipline, as great of what we do in our discipline to mitigate risks on behalf of our client, sometimes we mitigate the risk in our ability to actually explore new ideas. And I love the fact that you're doing this.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating, because the people listening to this probably don't know that we did a piece of research a couple of years ago looking at what people wanted from conferences, and there was a very large body amongst the people we researched who were very conservative in their requirements, who wanted things pretty much the same, just better run, a bit cheaper, a bit closer to them, in a bit nicer place, which was interesting, I thought.
And you're going out and doing it now, aren't you?
Well, we are doing some of those things, exactly, but we're also hopefully going to make things more edgy, more inclusive. One of the things that we're looking to do, for example, with the the whole NewMR Festival thing is to get people who would not go to conferences. So one of the big innovations that we've brought in is we say to people, don't worry if you've presented it before, because there are maybe 100,000 researchers, and so what if 50 people paid attention last time? There's a lot more people who might be really interested. And you know what? The second and third time somebody presents something, they're better at presenting it.
And what a great forum of, you know, as a, what's better than, sorry, you know, what a great forum using the online platform to actually share this with other people, and so that if they do present it, they could actually have a recording of it that they could share with other people too.
Absolutely, and I know that some people are doing that. I was at a company in Australia just this week, and they are working their way through last year's Festival of NewMR. They're taking a couple of the presentations, listening to them, and then having a discussion about, well, what does that say about our business, and where are we better, where are we not, where do we need to catch up, and so on. I think that creates a terrific resource that people can use in that way.
You know, it's funny, Ray, because I think that the best people in the business are the best storytellers, and they do tend to get the better gigs, to be quite honest.
Yes.
But I also think that nobody told us when we got into this business that we have to master the talents of the podcast, or being able to be in front of a video camera, or recording ourselves to listen back to see if we're able to communicate our ideas clearly. And I'm loving what's going on here, because we have to develop that discipline.
Yeah, I mean, there are some new boring jobs in our industry coming along. There are now chief compliance officers, particularly in the large companies, which are necessary. But I was at a conference, the BIG conference in the UK last year, and a young chap got up to speak, and he was the chief media technology officer for his company. And I thought, well, that's a good job. That's a job that didn't use it. He spent all of his time looking at how we can use new media to present results, to make them accessible, to make them findable, more interesting, more insightful. I thought, that's a good job. I don't like that at his age.
You know what? I don't think I'd be doing doing what I'm doing now if that was available to me 20 years ago.
Could well be. Maybe you won't be doing what you're doing now in 10 years. Maybe we'll be talking to radio food star Brian Singh in a few years.
You know, I think I was doing the sommelier course because when I used to work in tourism, I saw the guys coming into the destination we were marketing, and they were getting great gigs to just go and eat and drink wine and write about it. I said, I'm going to be doing that 20 years from now.
That sounds good. Well, one of the tips about social media is we're supposed to keep everything nice and short, so I'm going to pretty much wrap it up there, Brian. That's been brilliant, wonderful. Great talking to you again. I look forward to seeing you hopefully somewhere in the world, ideally in Toronto, and eating your wonderful food, ideally not at -20 like it was the last time I was up there.
No.
I think it'd be lovely to have an event in the summer, maybe.
You know what? For all of the people participating in the festival, I welcome you all to Calgary, and hopefully we could be holding an event here so that you can enjoy our wonderful mountain air and some of the great food that we have to offer out here.
Thank you so much, Brian. I look forward to talking to you again. Bye for now.
Have a great festival, Ray.